Hello, everybody, and welcome to another show of the Erich Show. Sorry for the slight delay. I was talking to a man about a dog, which actually means I was talking to Erich about the stories that we have today, and he delayed us. Just between us, he is the reason I am late. So, if this show feels a bit subpar, I do apologize sincerely. But I get a bit of a tax rebate from the government for hiring people like Erich. So just roll with it.
Welcome to the Erich Show, featuring your hosts Javvad Malik and Erich Krohn. Timely topics, poorly presented.
All right. Let's get on with it. And this week, the Erich Show, it's an amazing show. If you're not familiar, welcome, new listeners. And this is the only show you need for your weekly news, views, and opinions, ill-informed opinions sometimes, on everything to do with cyber. And speaking of ill-informed, allow me to introduce my co-host, Mr. Erich Krohn. How are you doing, sir?
Man, you're breaking my heart here. You're hurting my feelings and all of that. First of all, blaming me for being late.
Yeah,
Really?
you were like disorganized, and like you were putting pressure on me, saying, "Oh, the link's going to expire in the next 2 minutes if you don't go live," and all that kind of stuff. So,
you know what I love about you, Javvad, is you appreciate the things I do for us. Like, I'm sure you saw the new Pixar type cartoonish faces that I put on the placeholder for this, the image for this, and I went through, I created things for us, and you show up like when we're supposed to go live and then blame it all on me. And I see how you are, though. That's okay.
wow.
That's right. I'm prepared today. I've got my Got AI shirt on because we're going to talk about AI today, man. I don't know if we've ever talked about AI. Have we talked about AI before?
I don't know. Maybe. But let's see what the AI news stories have for us today, and then maybe we can form an opinion. So, DeepSeek, the latest kid on the AI block.
Let's start with what DeepSeek is and why it's important for those that may have been away for a week or so and not realize that this thing absolutely just dropped it seemingly out of nowhere. I was on a cruise ship, but supposedly bypassed all of the chat GPT performance, et cetera, with like $5 million in hardware and a stick of chewing gum or something like that. Like it's been crazy. Some of the things that I've been seeing go on with this. It became the #1 downloaded app on, I believe, Android and Apple stores. And in the midst of things, as we'll see here, there were some rocks in the road of success for them. This is a Chinese-owned organization, and we know how well people are reacting to that in some areas. So there's been a little bit of controversy behind it. It also looks like it. Well, anyways, we'll get into some stuff here. Javvad, let's talk about this a bit.
Good history lesson. And I think the key phrase there is, like you said, Chinese owned, published, run thing. And
what's with our screen layout, man? What have you done?
You want the different layout?
We normally, there we go. Now we can actually read part of what's on the screen. Well done. Nice transition. Smooth, flawless.
Yes, I know. See, hey, so if you work for a government agency, if you're the White House, if you work for the NSA, if you work for GCHQ, if you're in Europol, then you're very mindful of which nation's technology you use, what backdoors they may or may not be, where the data is even hosted. And this isn't just about China. At least us in Europe, we even worry about the Americans. So we're like, oh, that's not GDPR compliant. Put stuff in a European data center. So like a lot of tech firms, they have European data centers just to address that concern, so that European citizen data doesn't leave the EU unless it's under strict controls. So from that perspective, it's a valid security concern that a lot of organizations and governments have. So when you're using one of these AI platforms and all the data is being stored on a Chinese server, it depends on where you are in that whole list of priorities, where that puts you and what you're using it for. So absolutely, I think if you're a government, if you're a bank, if you're like one of these organizations, you're probably going to be concerned. But for the majority of people who are just using it to help with their homework or just find out like how can I make this email sound a bit more professional, or like mocking up CVs, that kind of stuff, cover letters.
Yeah, you say that. You say that about helping with homework. So unless you're doing something about Tiananmen Square, you're liable to get answers out of it, because that's one of the things that people have been showing is that there may be a lot of bias here from that side, because to tell you about Tiananmen Square, it says, I don't know what you're talking about. I can't tell you about that. So yeah, that's something.
If we want to talk about biases, let's start talking about all social media firms now. Yeah, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, let's talk about Twitter or X. Let's talk about Facebook. Let's talk about all these platforms and the biases that you get, even depending on where you're based. Was it just a few weeks ago that was it Meta or was we just had an oopsie that if you search for Democrats, nothing came back. But if you search for Republicans, a whole bunch of stuff came back. And they were like, no, this was a mistake and what have you. So there's biases everywhere. There's challenges everywhere. So I don't really agree with just picking up on Tiananmen Square, which is a very sensitive topic for the Chinese and everything and what have you. But just using
I was just pointing out if you're using it for that homework, it's probably not going to help you a lot. That's all.
You say that, but I see what you're underlying trying to say. Anyway, so DeepSeek disabled registrations on its V3 platform due to an ongoing large-scale cyber attack targeting its services. Now, that could just be they weren't prepared for the number of people that were going to sign up, but it's interesting. So, lots of threat actors there. I think there's a lot of attempts to, whenever there's a new AI, whichever model it is, there's loads of attempts to jailbreak them, to bypass the guardrails that are put in place. So it's interesting. They want to slow it down. They want to take it a bit easy because maybe whoever formed it, they're not used to something taking off at this scale so largely, so quickly.
Now, I did get registered for this finally. It took me a couple of days, actually. And then when I went to ask it a question, I got nothing. It just timed out time and time again. I made a post about it because I was asking what the biggest threat to cybersecurity was, and it just said, I can't answer this. Or, it basically timed out on me. So I made a little joke about availability, but it's true. I mean, that is definitely part of the CIA triad, but they definitely got a lot more attention than they wanted. And if you think about it, I have my thoughts here about some of the things going on here too. Let's say I owned, I don't know, $100 million worth of stock in ChatGPT or, OpenAI. How would I feel about something coming after it like this? And maybe, I don't know, people are protecting their investment through cybercrime, if you will. I mean, that's a legitimate thing to consider. If you're going to be a disruptor like this, there's a chance that there are people that are going to try to hold on to their stuff. There's a lot of reason why bad actors would target this, why other corporations, competitors, et cetera, would have targeted this way, but they hit them pretty hard. And of course, if it takes down your ability to bring on new registrations, the odds of getting someone there the second or third time to try it starts dropping off pretty quickly, right? Like, you don't ever want to have a business that you're like, sorry, we don't want customers right now, come back later, because they're not going to. So I'm sure they missed the boat quite a bit on some of that, but it is interesting to see how this worked. Now that we have the NVIDIA 50 series cards dropping, there's interest in, there's talk about the chip restrictions going to China to try to help bolster like the U.S. and allied type organizations to be able to have a technical advantage over that. But we all know how quickly and easily that would probably be circumvented.
Yes,
so,
indeed. So sticking to DeepSeek, there was over 1 million log lines and secret keys were leaked. Johnny Tables at work again. So or Bobby Tables, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, this is right along the lines of what I was talking about just a minute ago. You're gonna be a target by everybody. So even the white hats, the folks that are just out there trying to check it for security or do vulnerability stuff, if I'm an organization, I'm thinking about trying to use it, I'm probably going to throw a little security testing at it too. So it's not shocking that given their meteoric rise to fame, that vulnerabilities were found and exploited pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the other thing. Like nowadays, the speed to, as soon as you launch something, to becoming available, and then people can poke around at it, to vulnerabilities being discovered, to being written about, the time is just like so much shorter now. So gone are the days where you could like chill out for a few months or years before you even realize you had a vulnerability. Now it's like days, hours before, and especially again the big popularity boost really puts you in the spotlight really quickly. And that's a tough one, because people, they launch new apps and services all the time, and you can never really predict how big of a deal it's going to be. And so it's like, do you want to invest so much money in security and scalability and DDoS defenses and everything just for it to be like, 10 people signed up?
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit of a balancing act.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting one to watch. Now, I know that the DeepSeek, there's been all kinds of news around DeepSeek this last week, and we'll probably end up talking about this next week as well. But I believe you can even now download it and run it locally. Yeah, you can run DeepSeek R1 locally. Like there's all this stuff is kind of happening very quickly on this. It's one I haven't done. Like I run the meta stuff and all that here locally. I'm gonna go ahead and try the DeepSeek, but honestly, I've been trying it online and it's been okay when it's working.
Yeah. I think it's just ironing out the bugs. I think that the fact that it's running on, you can run it cheaper on lower spec hardware is a big thing. And that's kind of like where technology goes anyway. Things get more efficient as the technology increases. But I saw someone put a Blue Sky post out about how they're looking forward to download it. They've installed it locally on their Mac, and they're looking forward to seeing how they can use it offline on a plane journey that they had coming up. So
yeah, you would almost think, based on what you've heard about DeepSeek and how great it is as far as efficiency, that it would be something that's super easy to run on, let's say, like a Raspberry Pi or something, right? It's almost to that point. But looking at some of this stuff, and again, I haven't downloaded it myself, but I'm seeing that like R1, 671 billion parameters is what it is. And its initial size, 720 gigabytes. Let me repeat, 720 gigs.
Yeah, I mean, you could get probably the new GTA game for that much when it's released.
I know. We all talk about how efficiency, and all that stuff is happening here, but oh dear Lord, that is a lot of data.
You probably find your own data in there as well. That was stolen years ago.
That's kind of funny. Kinda.
Okay, let's go a bit away from AI, a bit more towards security again. Authorities seize domains of popular hacking forums in major cybercrime crackdown.
Yeah.
The crack is down.
The crack is down.
International law enforcement operation. It's very, very recent. It took place between January 28th and 30th, 2025.
Yeah, it's like day before yesterday or 2 days ago. So anyway, I'm mathing here, but up until yesterday, we'll go with that, right? And a couple days before. Yeah, this was pretty recent. We always love to talk about this kind of stuff because it's nice to see some refreshing, like, good news for a change at times. But indeed, it's kind of nice here to see that that they took down quite a bit of this stuff. Now, I would bet, if they ended the operation yesterday, by Monday, it'll be up in some other place. I mean, it's not, in the grand scheme of things, it's probably not going to make a huge difference. But hey, I love this, appropriated about 300,000 euros in cash and cryptocurrency. See right there. Appropriated.
And 17 servers, over 50 electronic devices. It's a good story. And you know what? It just feels small, but I think when you look at, especially like the work, the Europol and whoever, like all the nations when they come together, it's chipping away slowly. And the more this happens, the more unattractive this line of work appears to young people looking to make a fast bit of money. So it's heartening to see. Plus, also this cuts off some of the jobs for the people who supply them. So people that are supplying them with stolen phones or what have you, or fake identities or stolen identities and all that kind. They have fewer people to sell to. So it kind of like dries up that market as well. So it's a good story.
Yeah, and what I love to see about these is a lot of times these are countries working together. This isn't just one country going in and stopping this. This is some folks working together, hand in hand, getting stuff done like this, that's good. The more cooperation we have in situations like this and with law enforcement, it's like we talk a lot about how global or cybercrimes become global, but in the same breath, the defense against it is starting to get more and more global there as well. And I think that's an important and heartening thing to kind of think about, is it's not just the bad actors that are getting better.
It is indeed. And I think the more these organizations, law enforcement, collaborate, the better they're getting over time. You see, like the stories are getting better. Anyway, we always like to leave on a happy. Yeah.
Go ahead. Next.
Yes. I was saying, like, we always like to leave on a slightly happier story, and this was a good story to end on. But here's an even better story. Mark Zuckerberg, of all people, is crying because apparently whatever he talks about during meetings in Meta gets leaked to the press. Oh no, privacy. Who would have thought that's an important thing?
My heart goes out to him.
Yes, just not in the way Elon Musk gives his heart out.
I saw something. I think it was a clip from like Joe Rogan or something the other day. Came across, and he was interviewing him, and I forget what the heck he asked him. He said something about, okay, so you've been the bad guy for a long time, and now you expect us just to believe that you've flipped sides, and now all of a sudden you're like on everyone else's side. And he's like, yeah. Like, dude, this is the most evil cyborg we know of. I'm reasonably sure at some point in time we're gonna find out that he's really not human. He came over on the meteors that destroyed the dinosaurs, and he's been around ever since. It's going to be something just over the top crazy like that. But yeah, it's kind of funny though that he's like, oh, people are spying on what I say.
Yeah. So he said in a meeting, so which was leaked.
He said in a leaked meeting,
that he said he will no longer be forthcoming with information because we try to really be open, and then everything I say leaks. It sucks. So.
And then I started getting
and then he said, like, we will take this seriously. The company will take appropriate action. including termination. So I don't know. I just find it hilarious. It's just so nice to see how like the boot is on the other foot.
Poor Zucky. Poor Zucky.
Yeah. Poor Zucky.
God, I love it. This is a great way to leave the week on a high point, thinking about this. Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that could make me any more happier than this. So kicking Erich out. So anyway, hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you again soon, folks. Until